Welcome back to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. I thank you, everyone, for being on the show or listening to me come to you on the airwaves each and every week when we post one of these. It's always a privilege to have some of your attention because, as I say often, I know you guys have got lots of choices on how you spend your time and energy. So grateful that you guys are spending time with us here. Just for those that are audio listeners to the show and have been longtime audio listeners, we have started posting on both LinkedIn and on YouTube for those that want to see the video of our guests, as well as if that's their consumption method that they prefer over an audio only podcast. Feel free to go check those things out. You can search Restaurant Technology Guys on LinkedIn or on YouTube and find the show. Today, we are joined, and we were joking about it pre-show, by somebody that is going to introduce himself here in a few minutes and tell us a little bit about what he does. But as I was telling David earlier, their name is very, very similar to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. And so, David Iha, why don't you introduce yourself first, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you get to do for a living.
Sure. Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, my name is David Ehaw. I'm the Director of National Accounts for Restaurant Technologies, and I'm charged with partnering with national accounts in the casual, fast casual, and QSR space as it relates to helping them automate some of the worst jobs in the back of the house.
I love it. I love it. And I know I talked to one of your marketing guys when we kicked this thing off, and we were teasing about it before the show, because I'll go search for the Restaurant Technology Guys website to send somebody an article or something. And oftentimes you guys will pop up. For those that are less familiar with Restaurant Technologies, what do you guys do? And then we can talk a little bit about kind of how you guys automate some of those less exciting jobs in the kitchen.
Sure. Well, the company is headquartered in Minneapolis, been around for 25 years. We service close to 38,000 customers nationwide. And really, there's two main solutions that we offer. Both, when I talked about automating the worst jobs in the back of the house, the solution that we've had from our inception is a total oil management solution that automates the entire cooking oil management process. Which, as you know, Jeremy, from time spent in the back of the house, one of the worst and most dangerous jobs in any kitchen. And then the other solution that we've had now for about 5 years that's really, really expanding at a high rate is a solution called AutoMist, which is an automated hood cleaning solution. Another area, if you think about when dealing with restaurants, that obviously, from a risk mitigation standpoint, getting the hoods, flues, fans cleaned from grease is a very important part of maintaining any restaurant. We automate what right now is a very labor-intensive process when it comes to hood cleaning.
I love it. I love it. One of these days, I'm gonna have to figure out how to get you guys to clean some POS terminals that we put in the kitchen, because they're just as bad. All of the stuff that you guys get to see in those kitchens. So talk to me a little bit about, what does the world look like before we get to Restaurant Technologies? Like, I know everybody has to clean their oil. Everybody has to replace their oil. Talk to me a little bit about what life looks like on kind of your guys', I don't want to say your core business, because you guys do all of it, but you guys really, your legacy is in that area of oil management and dealing with oil management. If I don't have a partnership with your group, what does it look like as a restaurateur? Because I'm sure that story is going to be pretty familiar. And then where do you guys come in, and we can talk about how you guys solve some of that.
Sure. So, and really one of the reasons that I enjoy working for this company so much is we have a direct impact on the employees' quality of work life by making it a cleaner, safer environment for the employees. So first and foremost, particularly in this day and age where labor is such an issue, we are going to make a company's employees' lives much easier, the environment cleaner and safer, by helping what is now a very labor-intensive and dangerous task, whether it's dealing with hot cooking oil and manually handling that, or the area of hood cleaning. So our goal is to help what is typically a very labor intensive process, automate that. So not only it improves the lives of their employees, but allows them to focus on other areas, say the front of the house or other areas of operation that are just as important to running a good restaurant.
I love it. I love it. So, how does a restaurant that doesn't have a solution like yours, not only get new oil but dispose of the oil that's there? Is it, and again, it's been a long time since I've been in restaurants in the back of the house as my
Mhm.
primary function. I date myself, so I'm not going to even go there. But it's been over 20 years, put it that way. And I know there used to be big barrels out back, and it was always such a pain in the butt when the oil guy would come because it would shut down the kitchen and it was always such a difficult deal. So talk to me a little bit about what is the normal process, and again, prior to having you guys come in and help for those employees that you guys are taking care of, because again, almost everybody that we've done business with that's had a kitchen fire comes from either hoods not being clean, when they deduce it down, it's something around oil management and or cleanliness in the kitchen, and it is very, very time consuming, very, very difficult to do.
Sure. For most restaurants that don't utilize a system like ours, typically when that used oil is emptied from the fryer, it needs to be shuttled out to a rendering tank or a drum, what have you, that's typically out in the parking lot or corral area.
Mhm.
And so, oftentimes, and whether that is done by shuttling it in a caddy, some people simply use a stock pot, but it's the manual movement of that cooking oil from the fryer to a rendering tank. And if you think about not only handling it manually, but the opportunity for spills, burns, slips, falls, and then from a cleanliness aspect, typically you're taking it through a parking lot out to a corral area
Yep.
and dumping it into a system. So very labor intensive, not very clean, both from a back of the house and even from a parking lot or corral area. And then, if it's a situation in a corral, it's ripe for an opportunity for pest because of the buildup of grease and food particles in and around that rendering tank. So, aside from the employees having a dangerous task to do that, it can also be, from a cleanliness standpoint, certainly not ideal.
I love it. I love it. And I thank you for re-educating me. And that's kind of the same system that I had 25 years ago, 30 years ago when I was in the restaurant vertical. And it was always like, oh, we got to take this thing out. And the other thing I would say is I recall, and I'd love your take on this. It doesn't happen as often because it's a pain in the butt. It doesn't happen, and I eat in enough restaurants to know that a lot of times the frying oil isn't as clean as it should be because of the factor that you're saying they don't have an automated solution, so they end up replacing it less often than maybe they should to get the highest quality food. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, there's no question. I mean, that plays a part of it, right? No one wants to be the person charged with doing that task. And
Yep.
so oftentimes they'll put it off or maybe wait till somebody in the next shift will have to do it. So there's no question about it. And, the other unique thing about our system is that we don't only automate the waste oil portion of managing cooking oil, but we also automate the fresh oil part.
Okay.
Most restaurants, the way they fill a fryer is taking a 35-pound box of oil and dumping it into a fryer. And so, not only, if you think about some of your younger employees or even elderly people grabbing a 35-pound box of oil, again, you've got opportunities there with injury from strains, the spilling of the oil into the fryers. And that's a time, that's a process that also takes a great amount of time. Our system provides you the ability to both fill and empty the fryers with a push of a button. We provide a fresh bulk system that stores the oil, 1,400-pound tank, and also a fresh waste tank. So we completely eliminate the need for jibs and filling up the fryers. So from that standpoint, we're gonna automate both ends of the procedure. And you mentioned folks not filtering as much, or maybe delaying the process of emptying the fryers. One of the beauties of our system, and it kind of goes in line with your podcast, right, is about technology And
Yep.
how do you use it? Our system comes with technology that helps a restaurateur manage and measure not only when the people at the restaurant are emptying or filling the fryers, but how often and how long they filter. So, from an employee standpoint, we're going to automate what is now very labor intensive. But from an operator standpoint, we're going to give you a lot of the metrics that you're looking for to help you control your food quality and your food costs.
Wow, that's incredible. So talk to me a little bit about what I mean. Let's finish out this thought on kind of the oil management and how you guys deal with this. So and again, in the past and in this non-restaurant technology partnership, they've got a system where they take these 35-pound drums and they put them in, and they take the old oil out, and a truck shows up to go empty those barrels at some point and turn them into something. I don't know what they do with them, but they take them off site and deal with that. Talk to me a little bit about, so is this a brand new technological installation that you guys put in on site, and you guys find ways to run lines outside to do all of that? Is that kind of, you guys are taking that process and essentially doing a very similar thing to the restaurant environment?
Yeah, and for anybody that's familiar with bulk CO2, kind of follows a similar process to that. And the way it works is there's a fill box on the exterior of the building, about this big, doesn't take up a lot of space. And in that fill box are two connections. Our truck will pull up oftentimes in the middle of the night, and there's a connection for waste oil and fresh oil. And literally, we will connect the two hoses, pull automatically the waste oil from the waste oil tank, and fill up the fresh oil. We have lines that run directly from the fill box to our fresh tank, and then ultimately from the fresh tank to the back of the fryers. So it's a very easy process. Deliveries, no one ever has to order oil. From the operator standpoint, we measure how often, or excuse me, how much oil is in the fresh oil tank. And when that drops to a certain level, that cues a delivery, and we'll show up and pull the waste oil and then fill up the fresh oil. So there's nothing that has to be done from an operator standpoint as it relates to ordering, inventorying, stacking boxes, taking up a lot of space. That all goes away.
That's amazing. You talked a little bit about kind of the technology part, so you guys are doing auto fulfillment. Talk to me a little bit about the management side of things. If I'm a manager running a group of 10 restaurants, or I'm an owner that owns 10 restaurants and I've got your tech, I can see what's going on and how often the oil's being changed, how often you guys are coming and refilling it and replacing, and the staff. Is that kind of, did I hear you correctly when you talked about that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it just gives them visibility over how the restaurant is adhering or performing to the SOPs that have been set up for filtering or the best way to manage your oil. Most restaurants that we talk to, and kind of as a best practice, you want to filter 2 times a day, at least 5 minutes at a time. By doing that, you'll be able to extend the life of your oil and improve food quality, because you're cooking in oil that is free of debris and particles. And so our technology will be board and know whether or not they're lost, and make filtering no tenders are being cooked in the right oil, which helps my guest satisfaction scores. It just gives them that visibility to know their employees are adhering to the SOPs that they set out.
I love it. I love it. Well, thanks for going through that. Mhm. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened there. If that was my
That's okay.
end or.
Well, I kept it recording, and so I've got that time. So we'll just we'll try and pick back up where we're at, if that's okay with you. Are you good?
Sure. Yeah. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
So, David, talk to me a little bit about what disposal looks like for you guys. Because again, you talked a little bit about kind of the whole idea of putting the barrels out into the yard, and they sit there. I know when I was talking pre-show, we talked about the fact that you guys have got to, because you guys have automated so much of it, you guys have got a safer, cleaner, more environmentally friendly way to dispose of the oil as well. Talk to our listeners a little bit about that if you could as well.
Sure. So, Restaurant Technologies is the nation's largest reseller of used cooking oil. And we sell that used cooking oil off to biodiesel companies that's used to turn into fuel. In fact, we've got a neat project going on right now at our Des Moines depot. We're selling our used cooking oil and working with a company to actually turn that into fuel used for our distribution trucks making the oil delivery. So really a full closed loop system. So, a couple things that are unique. We get a high price on the used cooking oil market because our used cooking oil is protected from the elements. Because it is fully enclosed, we don't get the rainwater, the debris, the junk that normally you would get from any rendering system outside. So typically we get a larger return on the rebates we offer our customers by selling that used cooking oil. So that not only benefits us, but benefits our clients. But the other thing when you talk about used cooking oil is the real sustainability opportunity for clients when you're talking about automating oil management. Because if you think about it, Jeremy, think of the carbon footprint that
Yes.
is reduced when all of a sudden you're eliminating the corrugate and the plastic from those 35-pound jibs of oil that they're getting in the boxes.
Yep.
So, right now, and you talk to people every week, ESG is such an important part of governance and a lot of these restaurant chains. And this is low hanging fruit to immediately reduce your carbon footprint by eliminating all those boxes of jugged oil.
Yeah, no, it's incredible, and it's obviously awesome that you guys are at 38,000 properties. But I can imagine a day where this is the only way people are going to do oil, and I think that it ultimately is going to end up being something that you guys will continue to see success. I'm going to pivot a little bit because you talked about your auto mist program. Talk to me a little bit. What is auto mist? We talked about oil and oil management and the value of that. And I love that you guys are solving that problem and helping make the environment a better place and all of those things, as well as, solving some of the labor issues. And just there's so many different benefits to the oil management. But hood cleaning and maintenance of all of what's going on in the kitchen, it's definitely one of the dirtiest places you have anywhere, nonetheless, inside of a restaurant. And so talk to me a little bit about what the kitchen environment looks like and what you guys do to solve some of those problems.
Sure. So any restaurant and the frequency, there are fire codes, right? That you have to get your hoods inspected at a certain frequency, and not only inspected, but then if they're found to be out of compliance, you need to get them cleaned. And the frequency of those inspections and cleanings varies depending on what type of food that you're cooking.
Okay.
So for instance, most people, let's say you're a QSR burger chain, typically the frequency is quarterly.
Okay.
For somebody doing fish or chicken, it may be less. For those serving steaks, it could be monthly. But by the NFPA rules, a location has to have their restaurant's hood and entire exhaust system inspected and cleaned. And if you think about it, Jeremy, most restaurants, you got some that operate 24 hours, but most restaurants, whether it's morning till late evening, the only time that cleaning can take place is overnight. And so, it's always, and I'm not here to badmouth an entire industry, which is third party hood cleaning, but because of what's happened in the labor market, it is become more and more difficult for hood cleaners to find employees that are willing to do that cleaning and that work overnight.
Yep.
And so there's all kind of issues with being able to find people to do the cleaning. How diligent is it? The mess that can be made. If you think about the current system, what happens to do that exhaust cleaning is they come in, they will tarp off the equipment in the middle of the night. They're using power washers in the back of the restaurant, up on the roof, which is rife for getting grease sprayed on the roof in the parking lot. Typically, if you don't, you might have to have an employee come overnight while the people are in your restaurant if you're fearful of having any theft issues or damaged equipment. So there's a lot of things that go along with hood cleaning in the past that operators aren't pleased about, and it's only gotten worse over time, right?
Yep.
And so people are looking for some type of solution, and that's where Auto Mist has come in. It's a process that totally eliminates the need for a third-party hood cleaner. And if you think of a produce mister in your local grocery store, that's kind of the premise behind Auto Mist.
Okay.
We have a series of nozzles that go the hood, the flue, all the way up to the fan that will spray a detergent mixed with water 3 to 5 times a day for about 5 to 8 seconds at a spray that automates the cleaning of that entire exhaust system. And, I mentioned most restaurants, right, have to get their hoods cleaned quarterly. So what happens, Jeremy, the traditional way from the day after that initial cleaning to the next 90 days, you are getting an incredible amount of grease built up in your hood system. So by day 45 to day 80, your risk of a fire, if a spark were to get into your exhaust system, goes up exponentially. So the whole idea of Auto Mist is something that cleans daily so you never get the buildup.
Makes
And
sense.
then as a service, we have technicians that will come, perform the quarterly inspection with photographs, apply a sticker on the hood for the AHJ. We leave an inspection report on site for the restaurant, but it totally eliminates the pain points of having somebody in your restaurant making a mess, cleaning overnight, not being sure how well your exhaust system got cleaned, and then reducing your risk of a catastrophic event by making sure your hoods never get to a level that's not, that is beyond clean.
I'm gonna have you have a little pep talk with my kids because I try and explain to them if they just clean their room just 5 minutes a day, they won't have to spend the whole weekend cleaning their room. It sounds like a very similar premise.
No doubt, no doubt.
So talk to me a little bit, David, about the food safety in that regard, because what I would hear is my hood is right above my grill. I have this mist and this soap coming through, whatever the formulaic, the chemicals are that are going in to clean this. I know, at least when I've seen the hood cleaning, everything's shut down, everything's wrapped up. They've got the grill wrapped up, they've got the stovetop wrapped up, all of those kind of things so that they don't get it. Talk to me a little bit about food safety and how you guys have overcome that while it's spraying, 5 times an hour, 20 times an hour, whatever the needs are.
Sure. Well, the first thing is the detergent that we use is a food grade detergent.
Okay.
So, that eliminates any issues from a food safety concern. But we set the system up, Jeremy, to spray while the fans are in operation
Okay,
and the
makes sense.
restaurant is in operations by having the baffles still in place above the cooking surface. So, one of the reasons we spray while the restaurant is operating is the fan helps disperse the detergent. As part of our system, when we do the installation and inspections, we make sure that there's no gaps or issues with the baffles. So there's any opportunity for runoff or detergent, even if it's a food grade detergent, we
Yeah.
don't want anything to drip. So that's part of our installation process and quarterly inspection is to make sure there's no gap in the baffles above the cooking surface.
Okay, yeah. So I've got two other questions about hood cleaning. A number of years ago, and I'm going to tell you a quick story. A number of years ago, we had some technology in a kitchen, and it was a piece of, I mean, it was a plastic POS device, and come to find out, the plastic was degrading because of the style of oil they were using. This brand happened to be using coconut oil, and coconut oil didn't mix well with this piece of plastic. Talk to me a little bit about the detergent that you guys use and how does it overcome from coconut oil to canola oil to, peanut oil to all of the different types of oil that may be in that environment to ensure that it gets it all. I know that you guys are doing the quarterly inspections, which makes sense. You guys are going in and seeing that, but have you guys just worked with, chemists to build a formula that works for all of the types of, things that are going to get stuck in these hoods from, I'm thinking of Fogo de Chao that, has charcoal, and those hoods are, pulling soot up into there versus somewhere else that might be cooking oil versus somewhere else that might be, mesquite grilled or whatever else. So talk to me a little bit about how you guys dealt with the chemical aspects of just the different kinds of things that are going to be in there and how you guys can get it clean. Because if I'm a human being and I'm scraping it or whatever else, I can see that. Whereas this auto mist, or is it specific for only certain types of hoods and it only works in certain environments?
No, that's a great question. And we've worked closely with our chemical suppliers to get a detergent and degreaser that will tackle the various forms of grease. And we do everything from grease over woks to charbroil to steaks, you name it. So
Okay.
we've worked over time, our engineering along with chemists and our suppliers to come up with a detergent and a degreaser that will clean the various types of grease that is in the system. The other thing is we through the inspection process with the photographs, we're able to identify are there any areas where the nozzles need to be adjusted. Maybe if it's not hitting the left corner of hood number one, and by doing the inspection and the photograph, we can adjust the nozzles. The other thing that's unique about our system, it allows us to customize the level and frequency of sprays based on the type of cooking surface. So let's say over an area where they're charbroiling steaks or burgers, we can set the system to spray more frequently for a longer period of time than maybe over the hood that's over a bank of fryers. So we're able to really customize and tackle those various amounts of grease, which helps keeps the system clean.
I love it. I love it. Last one, I guess, on the auto mist is heat. Heat is always a challenge in the kitchens. And again, we've put technology into the kitchens. We put KDS units and things like that. And we've quite frankly had melted plastics because they're close to the heat lamps, they're close to the hoods, they're close to, and they're sucking up this stuff. Talk to me a little bit about how the auto mist, how do you guys deal with the heat elements? Because that, and really even the viscosity, that's I guess the other one is, if it gets clogged up somehow in there, you guys, it's going to struggle to operate at that level. And again, I know this is what you guys do, so I'd love for you to educate our listeners a little bit more about both of those things.
Sure. So the heat really is not an issue with our equipment. It's all UL listed equipment that's capable of handling the heat. The area of the nozzles clogging, one of the things that we do to address that is make sure of the water quality. So we do testing before we do an installation. If the water is too hard, we will then connect a water softener that will uh, make sure it's the right TDS in order to go through our system and won't clog the nozzles. So that's a very important part when we do the survey is testing water at the restaurant because particularly in certain areas of the country, that could be an issue. So we do install a water softener to help eliminate that clogging of the nozzles.
Oh, well, it's you have all of the answers for me, David. This is part of the joy of, and I say this to a lot of our guests, either before show or even on the show. For me, I get educated just as much as our listeners do. So thank you for that. One last question, or one last train of questioning. When I hear restaurant technologies, I don't think of cooking oil and I don't think of hood cleaning. Talk to me a little bit about where that came from, because the amount of technology that you guys are putting in the kitchen is amazing. And the more I learn about what you guys are doing, the more impressed I am with how you guys are truly trying to make, and I have a saying, and I think it holds true with what you guys are doing, as well as a lot of things, is technology for technology's sake is worthless, but technology that truly solves business challenges is paramount and amazing. So the fact that you guys are solving business problems is huge. Where does restaurant technologies come from, and how did you guys target that as a name? Because to me, it invokes POS, it invokes kitchen management, it invokes lots of other things. And so I'd love your take on that for our listeners.
Sure. I would say back when the founders developed the company and the name, it would almost correlate to innovation as much when we use that term technology, because we were talking about taking a system, the manual handling of cooking oil that had been around forever.
Hmm.
There really wasn't an alternative, and so it was basically innovation and taking a system that and totally transforming it into something different and unique. And so, to me, you're right. I mean, it's not necessarily about even though we do have unique technology that helps you, as I mentioned earlier, with the data. It's
Hmm.
more about the innovation piece. And same thing around AutoMist is innovating an area. What are pain points that operators or restaurateurs, or most importantly, the back of the house employees struggle with? And how can you innovate, automate, and bring technology to the operator that'll help them do their job in a cleaner, safer, more sustainable way?
I
So
love it.
that's
I love it. I love that explanation, and I think it's very true what you guys are doing. The more, like I said, more I learn about what it is that you guys are doing, the more impressed I am. David, talk to me a little bit about the future. There's been a lot been going on. Automation. I've had at least two guests on recently that talk about robotics, and from robotics in the front of the house or robotics in the back of the house. You guys are doing a lot of really cool stuff. Where's your industry, and where is restaurant technologies going? As far as what do you see on the forefront? These are, you said Auto Mist is a newer product. It's been around less than a decade. The other one's been around for a lot longer than that. Where do you guys see the next big innovation in restaurant back of the house management, even if it's not something you guys are coming up with? Give our listeners a little bit of David putting his hand on the crystal ball and saying this is where life is going to be.
Yeah, well, that's a great question, and I can't tip my hand onto what's coming next, but I can say we are constantly probing and speaking with our clients about those areas in the back of the house that are pain points. And one of the things that's been unique, Jeremy, particularly I would say over the last 18 months, is we have gotten a ton of traction from insurance carriers that have provided premium credits and discounts to our clients for using these services.
Wouldn't even think about that, but that's fantastic. That's just such a smart thing. I wouldn't even have considered it, but it's huge.
Sure. I mean, 60% of incidents in the back of the house can be attributed to cooking oil. If you think about mitigating risk from a fire by getting your hoods clean.
Yep.
So I would say what's next for restaurant technologies is continuing to talk to our customers about those areas that they want to automate and become safer and cleaner, and areas of sustainability in the back of the house. And there's so many. The speed of which technology and innovation is driving changes in the restaurant industry continues to amaze. And so for us, it is just going to be listening to our clients and seeing what areas. And quite honestly, that's one of the ways AutoMist came about. When we
Hmm.
were talking to our customers about other areas, and this is a pain point that people would continuously talk to us about. And so, and I think the other thing that I'll comment, and I listen to your podcasts and other guests that you have on the show, and I think we can all say with certainty that the labor issues that confront us now in our industry, and while it's getting a little bit better, is still far, far from where it was 2, 3 years ago. And
Absolutely.
so I think the more that you can provide restaurants to help them do more with less and automate, that's where this is going. And so as restaurant technologies, we're going to continue to see if we can find ways in that space to help our clients do more with less. And I think the line that we use is cleaner, safer, more sustainable. If it falls into the realm of any of those three, you better believe we've got people trying to tackle that problem.
I love it. I love it. And the one thing I would also echo that you guys are doing, I love that tagline, but also it's just the quality. Getting a consistent quality product out the door is just huge, and it's so hard nowadays. So the fact that you guys have got this oil management system, it's awesome. David, how do people get in touch with you, your team? How do they learn more about what it is that you guys are doing, and where would they go for a next step to make sure that they can you guys are scratching the surface. If we talk about restaurants, 700,000 of them in the United States, you guys have got 38,000, which is still an enormous, enormous penetration. And at the same time, you're just touching the surface. So talk to me a little bit about how people can get engaged with your team.
Sure. So I think the first and probably easiest way is to direct them to our website, which is www.rti-inc.com. They can go to the website, find all the information about our solutions, an opportunity to fill out their information and inquire about a certain solution, and we'll have somebody contact them. They can call us 1-888-796-4997. Can leave their information and somebody can get back to them. And I think the third thing is ask around to their colleagues in the industry, kind of the beauty of this system and what I sell and what Restaurant Technologies provides. You think of any major national brand that fries, you're going to find our system in there, and they're typically our best advocates. So I
I
would
love it.
tell somebody, talk to any major brand. More likely than not, there's somebody there that has familiarity with our sister and system, and they would be the biggest advocates and can tell them the benefits that they see from it.
Well, I would encourage all of our listeners, guys, if you guys run a restaurant, you guys fry food, or even have this hoods problem that David talked about. Both of the problems that we talked about today, David, are number one huge, and number two, the fact that you guys have got solutions that are going to help people, not only that are dealing with less people and less manpower. It pays for itself. I know that they pay for themselves, or you wouldn't be in such large brands that you guys are in. To our listeners, guys, we know that you guys have got lots of choices, as I said on the onset. While you guys are out checking out Restaurant Technologies, go subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, as I talked about on the onset, subscribe to, like us get connected with us on LinkedIn. Would love to talk to you more. If you guys have got guests that you guys want to send to the show, send them my way. I'd love to always learn new things. I learned a ton from David and his team as we've been going through and preparing for the show. David, thank you so much for your time, and to our listeners, make it a great day.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy.